and sweat trickling down your forehead. You think about cooking a healthy, tasty meal. You imagine yourself walking past the aisle with your favorite snacks and picking vegetables instead. You see yourself putting on your running shoes instead of turning on your television. Better yet, it should be gone from your house forever. In other words, you train your mind to prepare yourself for the challenges you're undoubtedly going to meet in the real world. The more often you picture all the necessary steps you need to take to achieve your goal, the easier it will be to make them an inherent, non-negotiable part of your life. When you switch your mind from event-oriented to process-oriented, magic will happen. Be selective in your life. Research suggests that students tend to procrastinate more on tasks regarded as unpleasant and to a lesser extent on tasks requiring skills they didn't believe they possessed. The solution? Become more selective in your life and focus on the essential tasks. Ideally, tasks you find both pleasant and that play off your strengths. People who want to become more disciplined often mistake self-discipline with making themselves miserable. That's not what self-discipline is all about. The only use of increased self-discipline is to help you reach your goals you want to achieve. In other words, no amount of self-discipline will be enough to help you stick to doing things you hate. Here's where the issue of selectivity comes into play. We all have 24 hours in a day and limited energy. Spreading yourself thin by trying to accomplish too many things at once is suboptimal at best and will work against you in the worst case. That's why the first step to introduce more self-discipline into your life is to form keystone habits. In many cases, these simple behaviors will lead to huge changes that will lead to yet more transformation. The second most important thing is to ask yourself how your new goals fit into your general plan for your life. Are you doing them because you generally believe they will enhance your life or because that's something you're supposed to do? Here's an anecdote from my personal life. Like millions of other kids, when I finished high school, I was encouraged by my parents to go to college. Without a degree, you won't matter, they said. My love of entrepreneurship led me to pick business administration as my major. Month by month, I cared less and less. I found it harder and harder to attend classes and prepare for exams. I doubt you could find a student who cared less than I did, even though I'm a perfectionist by nature. Less than 2 years later, I dropped out. No amount of self-discipline could have helped me keep studying something that can only be taught in the real world. As much as my parents encouraged me to keep going, I couldn't force myself to spend several years studying things that couldn't even be applied in the real world. I vowed to never again my personal goals and views. It's a mismanagement of resources, time, and energy that could have been spent on something that would bring me closer to my goals. Constantly monitor yourself. Bad habits are difficult to overcome because they happen too quickly. Before we know it, we shove a chocolate bar down our throat. Your why is of no use if your habits leave you unable to take action. It's why it's so important to constantly monitor your thoughts and stay focused on the present moment. The amount of distractions available at hand in the modern world, it's easy to forget about your resolutions. You grab a chocolate bar while texting a friend and wash it down with a can of a sugary drink while you update your status. Studies show that distracted shoppers are more likely to sample food at the sampling station in the supermarket. Consequently, they go home with more items than they originally wanted to buy, usually the total opposite of what they should have been eating. You can apply the findings from this study in your own life. If we're more likely to give in when we're distracted, it's important to pay attention to our thoughts and declutter our minds. I find meditation a useful tool to learn how to bring your focus to the present moment, but virtually every other type of practicing mindfulness will do the trick. The fewer distractions that cloud your judgment, the easier it will be to remind yourself of your why and stick to your resolutions. yourself more focused on the present moment, consider reducing the amount of time you spend on social media. I never check social media on my phone and check my email only on rare occasions when I'm waiting for an important reply. With fewer distractions, I'm able to better focus on the now and avoid mindless actions that would threaten my long term goals. Let's recap what is your why. The reason you want to achieve a particular goal can make or break your resolutions. With a powerful why, you'll have a much easier time resisting temptations. When faced with a craving, pause and remind yourself of the reason why you want to resist it. Giving in to cravings is an impulse. If you give yourself a minute or two to think, your self control mechanism will kick in and help you avoid ruining your progress. Visualization sets you for success, but only if you visualize like the sports pros do, by envisioning every single step on your journey toward the goal. When you prepare yourself for all the actions you need to take, you will be more likely to stick to your resolutions than when you envision reaching the goal alone. Be selective with the goals you want to achieve. If your goal doesn't fire you up, no amount of self-discipline will help you achieve it. Live in the present moment. Reduce the number of distractions around you and become more mindful of your surroundings, especially when shopping. Chapter 3: Dopamine, your enemy and your friend. Dopamine is a mind-numbing complex neurotransmitter whose role in our bodies I leave to real scientists to explain. What should interest you the most about dopamine is one of its pathways known as the mesolimbic pathway. Relax. I'm not going to describe the structure of the brain. This pathway starts in the cells deep in the middle of the brain and travels to the nucleus accumbens. If you want to understand the how, it doesn't really matter where the hell the nucleus accumbens is. A dopamine release that occurs this way leads to what most people consider the only role of dopamine